How you guys doing? How's your week been?
Phenomenal. Tell you what, dude. You want to know why I come up with some of this stuff? Finger Gun Friday, shooting shit down, because I do feel like every day becomes like a battle. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And it doesn't matter how many times you solve a problem in business. Like, tell me if I'm wrong, but there's always going to be a new problem to solve. It's like life. This is the greatest lie anyone ever told us as kids. Graduate, get a job, make some money, have a family, like you're going to be an adult. It's the greatest thing ever. It's the same, and that's a lie, right? Then you could turn 18 and realize you got to pay all your own shit, and you're like, holy crap, I can't go have fun all the time. I need to work. It's the same thing as being an entrepreneur and a business owner. It's like the greatest lie is that being a business owner equates to freedom or like immediate gratification. And then you realize that you're giving up the famous saying of giving up the 9 to 5 for the 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just.
I hear you. Well, what rap to us? What's going on? What's going on this week that's having you feel this way, Papa P?
Papa P's got some issues, baby.
Papa P and the P is for problems, but this is where we rap about it and talk about it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. No, it's kind of like what I was saying. There's always something. So we had, I'd always talked about how I had like continuous hiring. That's one of my biggest talking points, that and data. Data, always be hiring, making sure my team never goes without. Well, we have hit, everything is good in theory until a real roadblock is tested. And, we had some issues with my old human resource manager, my old HR person. She was great. But, the book Good to Great says you have to have the right people on the bus to go in the direction. And there's another saying that the people that got you to where you're at aren't necessarily the people that are going to get you to where you want or need to go. And she was great. She really helped us scale to the point to where we're at with getting deals in the markets we're in. But she wasn't the person to really run and innovate. You know what I mean? Like inside of a position, autonomy, innovation, creativity. She wasn't that person. It was hindering us. We started actually hiring less in the quality as our needs got to be more high quality, right? We decided we needed better. She wasn't able to keep pace with what she was doing. And then the quality kept going down. And honestly, it weighed on me for a couple weeks. And that's another thing, right? Like the weight on your shoulders of making a decision. She just had a baby. It's like, I got to make these decisions of like, what do I do? And we had a talk and I let her go. And now all that work falls back on me and my other managers, because now they have to help pick up the slack and help hire for their departments. And then I have to help get the ads out. Like there's just different things now. So, yeah, dude, that's a weight, man. And we let go of a couple other people last week, or we're not up to snuff. I always joke around. I fire in threes. Last week and over the weekend, starting by Monday, we fired 3 people. And that kind of set us back now. So now we have to kind of like move forward past it, man.
And in the short term, are you kind of feeling like the weight that got taken off of your shoulders in the short, or like the weight you were carrying by keeping her on or them on, versus now you're like, shit, that's all going to come back on me. And now I'm just kind of retriculating, if that's a word, like all that work back to other people. I guess that's kind of the cycle of what happens. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that clearly, but that's what I'm thinking.
It is. I was talking, funny quick story. I was talking to a buddy in Texas that we JV with, and I told him, and he goes, "Congratulations on the job promotion." And so, yeah, man, I mean, I guess the weight on my shoulder was, and Brittany knows, my wife knows, is because she'll see me walking around the house like in deep thought, because it slows me down. I can't move forward because I know somebody's holding me back. And now you become a detriment to our growth, right? The type of hiring. So as I was deciding to fire her, I asked my managers to help to see what they could do. So I had a strategy to it. I saw what my call center manager, what my sales manager, like if they could help bring people on, because if I let this one go, could I still maintain? And even if it meant more work for me, and then I put some ads out and was hiring some of our other positioning and trying to hire for like QA and stuff. And when I saw like, after a week or two, I was like, okay, we're going to hire this person. Like I could see they're okay with all this. That weight started to lift, because then when I did it that Monday, I felt great relief, not because she was a bad person, but because I felt relief. And I remember going home and I said, I'm ready to move forward again. You know, and like and now I have this clear train of thought of what I could do. And here's the other beauty, Carlos, is like every time I hit one of these things, and I made a post about it, my metrics, my pay rates, my scales, my bonus, everything gets better because I've learned from that mistake. And I think that's what makes me excel the most is like I make all my own mistakes. So
yep.
So yeah, man, I hope that answered your question, right? Like,
it definitely did. Definitely did.
I really kind of like those times, which is weird, but maybe not like them. Admire them. I don't know. They're very eye-opening for me. Like, yes, the work gets shifted around, and there is a certain amount of work that falls back on you as the business owner to fill in that gap while you're trying to find that replacement. But what I always enjoy in that process is discovering here is what my expectations were for that role, and here's where they're actually at. And then, like, because you don't really see the gap there until you actually have to do it and get involved in it. And when you see that gap, you can then make sure that doesn't occur the next time. So there's like that window in between when I fired somebody, in the hiring process to hire somebody else, where you now get to do that work, or other people get to do that work. And if you have other people doing it, make sure that they are the type of people that can give you a good report on it, give you feedback on that process, and then you get to fix it and make it better before the next person's even here. Because we're going through that too right now. We're actually hiring for a marketing coordinator position. And we're just like taking a deep look at exactly what we want this person to do, how it should work, like what better systems do we need to make that role be super successful for our company. And, you know, we have the ability, well, ability isn't the right word. We get the benefit of like getting to do it ourselves right now and experience it. And then we just learn so much. And that's happened in every benefit. Like that's happened in every role that we've ever had to fire somebody with.
You can't avoid it. It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest tips, right? You and I are both sitting here talking about it, and Carlos is nodding his head, and it's like, you know, everyone understands this, but I think so many people try to avoid it. The biggest tip I can give anybody is don't be afraid to start, because I promise you, the person you're starting with in any position, you know, most of them will not be the ones to finish the race with you. Everyone has their capacity to learn and is capped at a certain point. And so you need to go up higher quality. Each time is a quality step up, and that means a pay step up too, right? Like we're now hiring on a separate position. We have a position open that like someone's in it and they're not the one to run it, you know, great person and all that, but like they're great at their level, but they can't step up to the next level. And by having this person in that position, we recognize what the tasks are, what's lacking, and from that we can make an entire new position, which adds another layer and workload off of me as the owner founder. And what are you really looking for in that, right? You're looking for that someone who wants autonomy, who can make their own decisions, who can think creatively and innovatively, right? Like these types of things. It's unavoidable to fire somebody along the way. And I don't mean fire them for not doing work, right? Everyone thinks of that, like you're going to fire someone because they're not doing work, they're not showing up, and that's part of it. But sometimes you have to let them go, even if they're great and loyal, but you got to let them go because they're not the ones to get you to your end goal. And you should know where your end goal is and always be looking at your people to see if they're the ones in the seats that are going to get the bus to the right spot. And that's the thing, man, is like we're hiring for that now, and like we are going to pay more. And this is another position, like we're hiring for that in a separate part of our company. And we're talking about giving up, you know, just a lot of stuff, whether it's revenue share, whether it's what, like, you know, and I did the same thing in my sales management position, and I'm never going to look back.
Yeah, it's interesting about like, and I think that's like key differentiator. Like the same benefits can happen when you have to fire somebody because they're not doing their job. Although that like is more of an apparent fire that needs to occur.
It's not as, it doesn't hurt as much when they don't do their job. It's when they're doing their job just not up to what your new goals require. That's what makes, that's the weight that Carlos was mentioning that I had. She just, you know, she wasn't doing what, when you look at it, you're like, never going to get us to where we got to go.
Mm-hmm. Failing forward, and like that's like kind of like from taking a step back or a high level look at it, like failing forward or just like doing stuff without fully knowing. Or I see like a lot of people, and I'm guilty of it myself, like almost like skeptical of like failing or not doing something successfully instead of just like going and failing along the way. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, in like a movie where someone's breaking into like a bank or like a jewelry place and they have the red lasers that if you step on it, you set the alarm. It's like people kind of navigate, including everybody to a certain extent. They kind of navigate like they're dodging all the lasers and stuff, breaking into a jewel thing where like Papa P is just like walking through all the lasers, setting the alarm off. But you're going to get the jewels at the end of the day, and you're going to get the reward better than people that are tiptoeing around. As hard as it is to do, and I'm sure that wasn't natural to you, you know, heading down to Florida from PA back in the day, starting off as it is now, over a decade experience in the game. So that just shows your growth as an entrepreneur and kind of like the mental frameworks and limiting beliefs that you've worked through.
You know, bro, I'll be honest with you. I always considered myself like a businessman. So I remember when you're talking about like when I came down, just going back in time. Mm-hmm. I remember somebody had once said to me that like, I don't know how to run a business or something, or, oh, you know, you shouldn't be doing this or something like that. Like you're going to lose money, da, 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 da. And I remember like my ego and pride going, what the fuck? Like I make money. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Nah, they were right. I mean, I could say that total like transparency now. I knew nothing about running. I had employees, right? Quasi employees, like nothing of what I have now to the scale, not just revenue, but I mean like employee scale. I mean, I had no metrics. I didn't know about leading. I didn't know anything. All I knew was like I was making money and people were doing stuff. And I was like, I'm a business owner. So yeah, I took great offense to that. He hurt like my ego and my pride. You know what that means? You dive, like as a male, like alpha, you kind of just dive further and like, fuck, I got this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I hit a wall, obviously. But yeah, so man, like it took a long time. It wasn't 10 years of experience that taught that to me. I would honestly say it's probably been like the last 5. The first 5 was a lot of ego and pride. Mm-hmm. But it's never fun firing people. But you know, it's about finding the right people too. And that's kind of like, you got to find the people that want to grow with you. Yeah. As anybody running a real estate company, we all know it's very easy for somebody to come in and steal our business. And that's the biggest fear, right? We all hear it. Carlos, I'm sure you hear it from all the people you know too, man. Everyone's like, oh man, if I hire this person and then he leaves and he's my competition. And I think I had this epiphany as I was recognizing, and I saw a post by Patrick Bet-David, and I had been thinking about this. Entrepreneur versus entrepreneur, right? A lot of times we're looking, and I had done this with salespeople, you're looking for somebody like you, the same personality, the same, because you're thinking you need that person to replace you. I need someone like me. I need someone as good as me. I need someone who thinks like I do. And in reality, what I realize now is what I'm looking for is somebody who has some of the traits as an entrepreneur, but needs the comfort zone and the framework to work within that I can provide as an entrepreneur. And so now I'm wiser. And so in my management roles and like my upper like level positions, I'm looking for people who have the ability to think, innovate, but yet I could tell that they don't want to run a business. It's how I kind of interview now. I'm kind of looking to see what you want. Mm-hmm. And if your goal is to run a business, I'm not looking for you for this position. If your goal is to like scale a company with somebody, and you just need the tools. If your biggest pain is, I just need the tools. I need someone to give me this. I need this. Now I'm starting to hear the things because I can see the hunger and I can give you that to succeed. And those people don't want to do it on their own because they don't have the traits. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's different traits of entrepreneurship versus entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And how long has that term entrepreneurship been around? Like, I feel like I've heard it a lot in the last 3 years. I have too. I've kind of ignored it up until recently.
There's another term. There's another term too. Not to cut you off there, Poppy. Oh, you guys know I love Aubrey Marcus. Was in his mastermind and met a good friend there, a big real estate guy here in Miami. But there's another term that he traces back to like either Native American or Indian, something like that, where it's similar to entrepreneur, but you're almost like marketing yourself for like a service. It's slightly different, but entrepreneur has definitely become more popularized the last few years, I think, as well, John.
Yeah, I feel like it. Go ahead, Brandon.
I just think entrepreneur has been given a bad rap of what it stands for. And I think everybody wants to become an entrepreneur, and I don't think they understand what it takes to be one. I think if you have certain traits, right, I think anybody could become an entrepreneur, but I think everyone thinks it's a shortcut. Listen, man, like, I guess that's a lie. I was about to say I don't really care what I do, but I do. I have to. I am an entrepreneur at heart. I was trying to say it, but I fucking couldn't. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, dude. Like, I'm a risk taker. Like, I wrote traits down. Like, some of my entrepreneurship traits, I wrote 5 huge traits that I think it takes to be an entrepreneur. I think you have to be a risk taker. You have to be fucking crazy. Because whatever you're about to do, most people are going to tell you no, or it's not possible. So you got to be fucking crazy. And 2, you got to have strength. And by that, I mean like a strong back, almost like Atlas. You have to hold the weight of your company or the proverbial world on your shoulders when everything else is beating down. You still can't fucking break. That's the key, is you can't break. So the third thing I had is faith and conviction. That even for me, because I haven't always had success, like, and like I've had those moments where you're curled up and you're like, holy shit, like, when am I getting a break? And if you give up in those moments, kind of like Think and Grow Rich, if you're 3 feet away from the gold or whatever, gold, if you're 3 feet away from what you're trying to achieve and you quit, you'll never reach it. So you can't give up, which means you have to have faith. And I don't mean, faith in anything other than, I mean yourself and also your vision, right? And then like the fourth thing is innovating. I know a lot of people who are great at running companies, but don't necessarily have the ability to innovate and create new things. It is easy in today's world to copy and paste, but that doesn't make you an entrepreneur, right? If you're not, and we sell it, and I know I'm going to get shit for this, but we sell it as taking a shortcut. Man, come here and get the plug and get the shortcut, because you weren't smart enough to figure it out yourself, that you're going to go and get it from someone else. And to an extent, I'm cool with that. We all copy, it's a form of flattery, right? But at the same time, you need to be able to innovate new ways to succeed and for your business to thrive, kind of like a plan 1, plan 2, plan 3 type thing. We talked about that. And so those are like my 4 or 5 things, right? Like, it's, I guess, 4 things technically: risk, strength, faith, and innovation. I think you have to have those things in order to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think we should like break down each one. But I think it's interesting that, hustle culture, whatever, people are like, hey, you don't have to grind, work in a job, do something that you're interested in. It made the word entrepreneurship synonymous with having a hobby.
God. Yeah, fuck that. Listen, you want to know? I'm cutting you off because when you said that, I thought of Grant Cardone, and I'm a believer in what he said. He goes, fuck a side hustle. Just go deeper into what you're doing. Why do something else? You already have a job. Listen, if one of my employees wants to come to me and tell me that they have an idea to help the company make more money, you don't think I'm rewarding that person? The whole thing of, well, your boss is never going to pay you enough to live in the house next to him. Maybe that's because you don't have enough value to be rewarded that. Which brings me back to Patrick Bet-David referring to Bob Iger, who made $67 million a year. He started out working for ABC, rose up to the CEO of Disney, makes $67 million in a year. Like, if you go to your boss with an idea and you dive deep into your organization and you have enough hustle, you will get paid. How much am I willing to give? If you could tell me how to make $10 million a year, am I not willing to share 1 mil? 2 mil?
Right.
3 mil? 4 mil?
Yeah.
But here's the problem: gratification. People who do that come to the boss with one idea and say, let me get paid. But what they don't realize is I don't trust you, man. So you got this one idea. How do I know you're going to continually add value to me that now you want to make as much as me? So have you put the time in? Have you continually showed value? And people will be like, yeah, I have. And everyone looks over. Well, have you really tried? Have you asked? It's like sales. Have you actually made the ask? Or are you just assuming they know? Have you gone above that person? Have you like hustled and tried? And so that's my thing. As a business owner, I just know, like, what am I willing to give up? Revenue wise, equity wise, right? Salary wise, whatever it is, if you're going to help me make more money. So I believe you should dive deep into whatever you're doing. I don't understand spreading myself thin on 5 different things. So sorry.
Love it.
No, totally agree. I mean, I think Layla Hormozy speaks to this a lot in like her kind of content. But so, I mean, their company, Gym Lords, they just exited from. And the new co-CEOs are 2 people that have worked with them forever. And I remember a video clip of her saying, the reason I knew that I could trust this person is I went to my executive assistant and said, all right, we have the quarterly meeting coming up. I need to start working on the PowerPoint for it. So let's start gathering the materials. And the assistant went, no, this other person already did that. Like, this other person was already coming in and like starting to do her job before she even knew it was happening. That is an entrepreneur. Exactly.
And how much would I pay you to do that?
And I think, like, I mean, Tim Cook is another great example. Like Bob Iger, like, worked.
How about,
he worked in
what is it? Stephen Ballmer, right? Microsoft. That dude didn't start Microsoft, but he also owns a basketball team or something. He owns some sports teams. He's one of the richest men in the effing world. And people will say, well, this is real estate. It's not tech, or it's not this. Nah, dude. I'm telling you what, you want to partner with me? I've been looking for somebody. And so even in this new position we're hiring for to help our company, because we're in expansion mode right now, like we're trying to even into this doubtful economy. I put in there, as I'm like describing this position to somebody, and I debated. I was like, okay, year one, like this is what you make. It's just flat. I said, but if you bring value, if you add value to the company and increase our what we call like threshold of ability, and you increase our revenue, I am more than happy to talk in year 2 about revenue share of that company. And then if you continue to add value, I mean, dude, you make my life easy. I'll give you fucking revenue share of all of my companies. Does that matter to me? And that's what people don't understand. They think entrepreneurs and bosses are stingy. We're not. We're stingy with who we share it with, but we're not stingy in sharing, or we wouldn't be to where we're at today.
Exactly. Yes.
And then even on the Hormozy deal, I was watching it, and if you guys watch, for everybody watching live here, you know that we're all big fans of the Hormozys. But they were talking about they wanted to focus on acquisition.com, and I think they sold like everything else they own. They sold like 66% of their shares in those companies, and they're like, why didn't you just sell the whole thing, or why didn't you just keep it and just work on acquisition.com, but also have kind of like what Papa P's talking about, like side hustles at that point if their main focus is acquisition.com. They're like, we wanted to give enough. We're like still super invested in the people that run those and like bought in those people as if they're like blue chip stocks. So we want to own enough so that we reap the long-term benefits of that company's growth, because we believe so much into these people that we originally gave these opportunities to, like Papa P and John are talking about. But also we don't want to have a majority share where we don't need to be thinking about it on a day-to-day basis. So we can make our one thing, our main focus, acquisition.com, but still reap the benefits of having, all the hard work and systems and processes and leadership that we put in place in all the other businesses that they sold 66% of their shares in. So I thought that was cool.
It's like, and I'm ashamed to say that I see a lot of posts, I'm on social media and I read posts and they get to me, because I was going to say the people that don't believe what we're talking about, look in the mirror, because it's you. You're the loser who will never succeed. Simple as that. If you're looking at saying, no, that's not true, like I've tried hard and no one's ever given me, my boss never gave me, nah, dude, you're not trying hard. It's just you. You don't have what it takes. That's simple. There is 1% of people in this world that could attain more wealth than the other 99%. And I would say there's a similar percentage of people that are built to do what we do as running companies, right? Not everyone's like that, and that's okay. And there's also a similar percentage of entrepreneurs, and either you have it or you don't. And coincidentally, I feel like the traits of being an entrepreneur are very similar to an entrepreneur. And Patrick Bet David had them labeled out on one of his Instagram posts, and he said you have to think like an entrepreneur, work like an entrepreneur, you have to possess urgency in what you do, right? And you have to innovate like an entrepreneur, but you also have to protect the brand. And that's the thing, is everything he said is like an entrepreneur, like an entrepreneur. And I added to it what he didn't have was the one key thing between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur, right? Because although the entrepreneur has to work like and think like and innovate like, the entrepreneur has to create the tools, the framework, and the comfort zone. And the intrapreneur, what they need to thrive is to operate inside those tools, framework, and comfort zone. And so we have to build that for them. And once we do, we say, come, my children. Come here and help us build the empire. So.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Love that. I mean, that's not too, and it's crazy, it's been 6 years. I mean, that's not too different from investor views, really. Like, because I was wholesaling with Dan, showed up to brunch one day, tossed me an investor view shirt, say he was doing that. Was still wholesaling with him like a month after Investor Fuse launch. He's like, hey man, do you want to do like part-time, get on video calls and just show different people across the country, like how to use Podio as a CRM essentially. And just did that for about a month and was loving it. And then, got offered some equity in the company and can say it's worked out pretty well. And
you don't have to be a founder to get equity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that got me locked in, 6 years and hopefully at least another 3 to 10 years. I don't know where it's going to go, but like that made me super bought in on the vision and inspired to be there and even for the future stuff. So it's interesting and we're a SaaS company, obviously a software company, but it's interesting thinking about that for real estate investing companies listening to this. Partnerships. I mean, this is a whole other episode to go into, but now I'm just kind of thinking it because Brandin doesn't necessarily have like a partner. And like you could think of like dynamics of all the different companies, all the different real estate investing companies, wholesalers, of people that either have one head person running it or they have partners, because we see a lot of both. So that's just an interesting dynamic and how that gets formed and generated. And everything as well.
I am actively, like I'm hiring, so I have my managers, right, and they get paid very well, and I'm always willing, especially my newest manager is phenomenal. Raul is doing, he's crushing it. And that's the thing is like, I feel like I'm a coach now. I'm just like, man, I'm pumped for my people. Like they're just crushing it. But I'm always looking, man. And you said like other companies, so I've always, I guess like now I am looking for somebody to take my position, right? Because I have other things, especially REI Op Center. That's kind of like how I talked before, like a long-term big play. That's like a big goal.
Yeah.
Like a SaaS company, a tech company. And I love REI Op Center because I love data. And I think it's going to do wonders for real estate companies.
July 7th, 2022.
Boom, hop on the webinar. But the thing is I'm looking for somebody to replace me today, right? And I'm thinking revenue share and this, but I am educated now of what I need and am looking for. Whereas before, right, people used to call me crazy before, and I was, because I tried giving percentages of like 25% of this, and you help me, and then they would leave and they would take this money and they would go. And I was always like, man, like it's just not working, this whole sharing of the pie thing. And then I realized it wasn't the methodology that was wrong, the sharing or the equity, or the not equity per se, but revenue sharing, right? The methodology wasn't wrong. It was the people I was giving it to were not they weren't worthy of it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm back at it trying to revamp it from like 4 or 5 years ago. But you want to know what, Carlos, the reason why I bring this up is what you said. I have talked to numerous other companies who are starting to do the same thing for their people, where it's not like, hey, you get 3% of what acquisition does, and well, you're a dispo manager, so you get 2% or 4% or whatever it is, 5% of what your team sells, or you're the man, you know what I mean? Like, no. And then the flip people only get what the flip do, and the rental people only get what that. I've seen more and more people start to say, wait a second, let's give like a layer, like you have a layer on a hierarchy chart. These people above it are now sharing in the overall company. So we're all on one common path or goal. And I'm seeing that becoming, because we're growing. Us as business people, as businesses, not just revenue wise, but we're growing in education and knowledge. And we're saying to ourselves, okay, we're not just sitting here on the phone hustling all day. We're building portfolios, cash flowing assets. We're building real teams and processes. We're growing, so our methodology grows too.
Yep. Yeah, I think, the idea of the whole company being in tune with profit and that being associated to reward in some way. Maybe not the whole company, but anyways, yeah, like the acquisitions department's like, oh, well, you know what? Expense wise, right? Just like, oh, as the acquisitions manager, I should be aware of how many phone lines we're using, what software it is. Do we have like 5 phone lines that we're paying for that we're not using, 5 user seats somewhere? That, reducing that down can increase our profit, which can increase my ultimate benefit. And it falls through the line too. Like if they're just focused on their acquisitions revenue, they may not be thinking towards, well, how's this going to disposition, or how's this going to flip? And when they have a cohesive vision of everything and how it all ties together, they make better decisions for the whole company.
Not my job, not my problem scenario.
Yeah.
I've run into that in the tradesman on the flip side. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I heard somebody else talking about trying to do, you made a comment, maybe not the whole company, but I had heard somebody say they wanted to do like a stock option plan for like all of their companies, kind of like Apple, how, and not just Apple, but even like here locally, like Publix employees, like everybody gets like Publix is a huge grocery store, and it's made everybody in this town that I live in very wealthy because it's the headquarters, because they give us stock ownership, stocks. It's a private company, but they give an ESOP plan to all their employees, and those people get paid because they're all wanting to make sure Publix makes a shit ton. They do make a shit ton of money.
They do.
And that's not a bad thing, but do you see how we're growing? From like, just as business people, like we're scaling our methodologies, and that's the biggest thing. But with that, you need the right people. Circling all the way back, the people that started with you are not the people that are going to finish with you. And if you give them the money, like I did early on, they will just take it and run. And
I was going to say, I'm kind of butting in here on a random subject. I'm excited for Papa P to be in the tech and SaaS game full time, and like being like the B2B, being like the B2B world, like just working with real estate. It's just going to be an interesting, dynamic of someone that's been like a long time real estate operator working now B2B with other real estate companies and diving in. I think a year from now, you're going to have another angle of experience and life perceptions added on, working with all these hundreds, if not thousands of companies. It's going to be cool.
I'm fucking ready for it. I'm ready for it. And without investor fees, I wouldn't be there, because that's how I met John, and here's the thing, dude, is like, when you're thinking about that, I'm like, wait a second. I got urgency now. I have urgency to make sure I fill up my seats in all my processes. Like that's my biggest thing, is processes. Because I'm like, if I'm giving all this time, because even today I spent like 4 hours. I came in the office early. I was like, I got to get all this stuff out for RI Ops Center, because I'm heading out to the lake this weekend. And I'm like, I got to get the team what they need. So I, as an entrepreneur, like that lie that you have all this freedom, the only freedom you get, and I said this the last episode, mark my words for anybody listening, the only freedom as an entrepreneur you get is you get to pick when you work, not how much you work, because the work keeps piling on, right? Whether you're hiring people, adding processes, building out something, starting a new company, the workload never ends. But now I get to pick, you know what, honey, I'm going to get up at like 6 o'clock. I'm going to run to the office, be in the office. You know what I mean? Like at 6:30, I'm going to work all the way through my meetings. And then, I get to set my meetings up, just like John knows, because we had somebody in our Ops Center say, can we move the meeting, please? I typed back, no. The meeting goes on this plan. You don't get to switch the meeting, buddy. You show up. You're messing my fucking schedule up. So yeah, and that's the thing, right? Before I would have said yes. Now I'm like, nah, dude. You're showing up on time. And he was at a wedding. It turns out he had a wedding to go to. So he was on his phone at the wedding doing our Zoom like company meeting. That's
hilarious.
But I mean, that's the thing, man, is I get to pick when I work. But the workload keeps growing, right? To get into
There's
our
always stuff to be done.
Yeah,
Always stuff to be done.
That's for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not, obviously not at home, right? I'm in Atlanta right now. My
You
wife.
sure? Because I really thought you just like to decorate like a grandma because I'm seeing your furniture and I was like, damn, he's in some old lady's house right now.
It's this old, like really cool Atlanta house.
John's at a cellar lead appointment of an 85-year-old.
Yeah. That's a real live look at old people's houses right there of what we walk into.
I'm pretty sure this person's like, I gotta decorate this Airbnb. Let's go steal some furniture from grandma.
I can smell it through the StreamYard link what that house smells like.
I'm pretty sure someone's grandma died. They inherited the property and they said, F it, let's just Airbnb it with all of her stuff in there so we don't have to move it.
Yeah, any Atlanta wholesalers looking for a deal, chime in the comments. Maybe John will be able to put
John will shoot the address over to this Airbnb.
Yeah.
It's distressed in decoration.
Just in decoration. But yeah, no, it's like I'm here. My wife is obviously at a conference all day, so sometimes I have the kids there. My kids are actually at the conference right now, participating in some junior activities. But the work doesn't stop, right? So even though I'm having to I can't have meetings as much, but I can't get behind either. So it's, I'm working in the evenings. I'm working I get up early and I'm getting some work done. We have the car ride home on Sunday. And I know that day, even when I get home, we'll all just be prepped for everything that comes on Monday. Because if I'm not ready, if I have not put in the work for what I need to do come Monday and all the meetings kick off, then now everybody's going to be waiting on me. And work will not be getting done. So I love that quote that you said last week of you get to choose when you work, because it's true.
Yeah.
But the workload is not vanishing.
For all the people out there listening who feel bad because they're always working and Instagram and social media, or your favorite guru tells you should be at the beach retired, quote unquote, just remember this. That's a lie. It depends. If you want to keep building businesses, the workload's going to keep increasing. You're going to keep doing stuff. It just depends. It depends on who you are. If you're a true innovator, you're going to fucking love it. If you're a true entrepreneurship, you get your rocks off on it, man. This is how you get your jollies. I love building shit, man. I don't know what I would do. Even we're going to the lake. I plan on fishing with my son, doing all that good stuff, family stuff, our first family vacation. But you want to know what? I'm still going to be where I'm looking at. I told John, I'm like, this is going to be my quiet time. I'm really going to focus on this, and I'm going to accomplish this, this, and this. I look forward to that, and Carlos would love it because I'm doing what Carlos always tries to get me to do, which is take time, just think. And that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to come up with stuff. I'm going to innovate some new ideas. He's got his. What do you got? Your little. What is this?
Invest in one of these.
A
sketch
I use
pad.
my Remarkable.
No lines on there. I love that. So I like jamming on both. I have my iPad with the InvestorFuse branded Apple Pencil. Sketchpad hits a little differently, though, depending on what I want to do. But highly recommend that. And I am stoked for you. Life is all about having your jollies. And I think that, like we've discussed on previous episodes, you get your jollies from working. As weird as that may sound, or as controversial, hot of a take as hot of a take as that may be, whatever it is. And I was talking with my friend, we were hanging out, and she was saying that she works like a civilian. She's a civilian. She's not real estate or SaaS or anything. That's what I call civilians in a loving way.
She's a civvy.
She's a civvy, and she was like, "Oh, I want to start a side hustle to make more money." And I was like, "You should just go more all in on your current job." She works for I think Citibank, doing some finance stuff, and she's like, "No, I'm not." She essentially said in my wording, "No, I'm a civilian. Working a corporate job, necessarily going deeper on that isn't going to be the same thing as you that works in a company that you have a lot of control of, or any of these real estate companies that are listening to this, where if you do go deep on that, you could kind of experience the benefit more closely or in a shorter time period." I'm not sure the best way to correlate that.
A shorter time period? And I've been doing it for over a decade. Yeah, I got money, but here's the thing. What about when your electricity gets shut off? What about when your credit cards are maxed out? What about when you can't pay your employees? what about all those things that starting a side? Because a side hustle is just that. It's a hustle until you hire people and actually make hustle is not going to make you fucking money. Okay. You're still going to have to scale that hustle into something to make life-changing money. If that's really, because that's what I take what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because if she wanted a side hustle,
yeah.
she could go get a promotion and make an extra 20, 30K a year, which is what a side hustle is going to get you anyway. Work a little harder, you'll make another 30 fucking K a year at a corporate. Here's what another tip for anybody: quit your job and go somewhere else. I used to know guys that would jump every year or two, every 2 years, you jump to a new job, get a promotion. I knew one guy who did that for like 5 years, came back to the corporate company I was working at and was making like 150 fucking K because he went other places, came back and he was worth more money.
A fraud.
But no one thinks like when you scale your side hustle, okay, what about not being able to buy your kids the birthday presents you want because you had to pay the employees? And you want to know who said this? I was listening to Alex Hermosi's book last night, driving my kid to his swim meet last night, which I got off work early because that was the benefit. I set my schedule, woke up early, left at like 2 to take my son to a swim meet in Clearwater. And he said, and I was telling Brittany about this because I related to it. He said he remembers when he felt the richest in his life because Layla came over to him and they were jumping up and down because they had $101,000, $110,000 and something like that in their bank account, $101,018 in their bank account. And he said, it was all mine. He goes, it was ours. It wasn't revenue. It wasn't profit. It wasn't something that was going to get driven back into the company. He's like, it was ours. And we stood there and we watched our bank account and we said, this is all ours. He said, I'd made more money than that. He goes, at that point, they were making millions. It wasn't the fact that he only made 100K and that was a lot of money. I mean, they made millions. But this is what he said. He goes, it was ours because of all the times, I felt the richest than ever before because all the other times we made money, the money went back into employees, paying rent, utilities, paying for choices and decisions I made, bad ones, mistakes, going back in to grow the company. And he's like, all that time, all the money we made, it was never ours. Every time they would see money, he goes, it was earmarked for some debt or some bill that we had to pay. But he goes, finally, we had $100,000 in our bank account and it was actually ours. And he goes, to this day, he's like, I'm worth millions. And to this day, that's the richest I ever felt. And I fucking related to that because I've had that emotional swell up in me where you have that feeling where like you make a shit ton of money and you're paying for mistakes and new ideas and marketing and you're like 100K here, $250,000 there. And you're like, when am I getting a break? It was like, that was my break. That was it right there. I finally achieved it. And I had like a moment of silence for my man. I don't even fucking know him. And I had a moment of silence for him in that book. And I was like, right on, dude.
Love that. Jollies. Life is all about getting your jollies.
So that's the thing, man.
And oftentimes those jollies are work, business, personal development related, really, at the end of the day.
And people don't realize that, though. Like, I don't know. That's my thing. But Pulse of the Week. Should we move on to Pulse of the Week?
Sure. Wrap to us. What do we got?
Big deal. Big deal. Carlos, break it down. What happened this week, bro? What happened?
Well, I also have a side one that I want to relate just because I'm a big sports guy.
What do you got?
Well, LeBron James officially announced as a billionaire. So I think the first ever
I read that, yeah.
Active sports person.
The first active person under contract that's a billionaire.
Yeah. Well, my man,
it's my guy.
You know what, dude? Would someone do the math? If anybody's out there listening, leave a comment, do the freaking math. What would Michael Jordan in modern day times have been worth? Because he had the same type of career, right? I mean, he had the footwear, he was in movies, he had the brand endorsements, he was on cereal. That was when cereal was a thing. He was on cereal boxes. I mean, I wonder what Michael Jordan would have actively been worth as an athlete. I know he didn't make as much because the pay was different back then.
Yeah,
that's the thing is like they were getting a couple mil, like LeBron's over here getting $100 million contracts. It's just a different,
promotion and agencies, and LeBron having his own agency that signs other athletes, and it's a different game. Yeah, it's an interesting comp for sure. But I just want to throw that out just because I love LeBron and he does a lot of good stuff, and it's related to real estate. Speaking of comps, though, the main real estate pulse of the week.
What a segue.
Prop stream. would we say the most popular tool in the real estate wholesaling space as far as pooling prospecting data now has more information available? Yeah. And also top of mind, Papa P, what are your thoughts, and like, do you guys use that? I can't even recall top of mind. Is that where you guys pull from?
Oh, I mean, yes and no. We use PropStream. We have the MLS in some of our markets, but I mean,
Papa P, and the P is for PropStream.
PropStream. I'm not an affiliate. What the yeah, we use PropStream significantly for especially newer markets that we didn't have the MLS in, and then we all know what happened in the new year. They lost MLS data. We switched to Batch because Batch still had some of it. There was moments there where Batch's data was hokey. I still have issues with Batch. So like with PropStream, I never really doubted my numbers. With Batch, like I really do doubt some of their data in there because like I've matched it up to other people with MLS in my markets. And like some of it's wild. We've made some bad choices there, even trying to coexist with Zillow or like co-value with Zillow. I never had that issue with PropStream. So when I saw that post, I was like, I messaged Brittany and I was like, hey, do we still have our PropStream accounts? I know we use it for data too. And I was like, can we put our team back on that? Because I'm going to test it out and we might move everyone back to PropStream. I mean, I have my training for it. Like we have in-house training. So I still have all my training videos. So it would take me 2 seconds to send a training module over to my team and have them learn. New people would learn it and everyone else would reuse it and just hop back on. I don't know, man. I'm excited.
Keep us posted. So, I mean, that's big. That's big stuff.
Is it the same data, or do they now have something additional?
It's the same. Failed listings and sold MLS. It's the key is MLS. MLS had like cut it off, and now I don't know how they got it back. I don't know the details, but it's like either way, it's back. And the funny thing is it happened like a day or a week after they sold their company for like $100 million or some shit. And I was like, oh, I bet that company's so pissed.
Yeah, 175.
I mean, we canceled a lot of we had multiple accounts with PropStream under many emails just because of the way you have to do it for the users and stuff and the data that you want to pull. We canceled all but one. So, I mean, we canceled a lot of monthly subscription through them. Yeah, I'm sure we got a comment here that said they had to figure it out. I'm sure they lost a ton of money, and I bet they did. And I bet that company that bought them was heated, whereas the owners probably went out, hung out with LeBron James and bought a yacht and was like, not my job, not my problem.
Yeah. The joys of exiting a company.
Man. You know what? I mean, everyone uses something different. I know people who don't use PropStream or Batch, and people exclusively use Zillow, and I don't know how. Yeah. I couldn't.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
I see a lot of people that do that. I'm just like, you guys are wild, you cowboys and cowgirls.
We got in arguments with people before. I remember my dispo telling me one time that he was arguing with a buyer that was arguing that Zillow was a truer representation of value than the MLS.
Okay.
Yeah, let that one sink into the audience. I told my guy, I was like, don't even argue with him. That guy, just don't even fucking bother. He's not our buyer.
That's funny.
That's good for PropStream, though. I'm sure they will enjoy getting a bunch of users back.
Yeah.
And there's already enough. If you don't know, there's already a shit ton of YouTube videos out about it. Everyone hopped on that train as soon as it came. You can go watch all your favorite gurus talk about it, but just remember where you heard it first. Probably not first, but where you heard it second. Because it came out yesterday.
Well, I'm stoked. Good for them. Just good abundance mindset. Good for PropStream. Good for everybody using it if they can get better quality data, better timing as far as getting it quicker. So good vibes there all around for sure.
No, I think this was a phenomenal episode, guys.
Me too. I think we'll come back to entrepreneurship a lot in the future. I think there's still a ton to unravel there. I mean, the mental aspects of it are intriguing too. Just like, I mean, I think like you listed it out too of like, what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, there's just like a lot that goes into that and who you are and who you have to believe you are in order to accomplish that. And I think, just last snippet there on that topic is I saw a quote, I think it was from Alex Ramosi. He's like, I never once doubted if I was the person that could do this. Never once did I think that I wouldn't be able to do it. It was just a matter of how long, what was the runway, what did I need to get there. And I think that's an important aspect to think about. And it made me look at my career and my experience as an entrepreneur. And I don't remember ever a time doubting if I could do it either. Like it's just a matter of, oh, I need this amount of money to do something, or I need to learn these skills, and so I need the time to do that. But never once did I doubt like if I could get there, and then still like I don't think I'm there, right? I feel like I've learned a lot. I don't even know what my end goal is really, but they never once doubted like.
Oh, LeBron just set the bar, dude. Your end goal now is to be a Billy.
Billionaire. That's too much money.
John's getting
too much money. Did you just fucking say that's too much money? Whoa! What the fuck? Too much money? Never too much money, man.
I guess that could be said.
They say you can
I feel
never
like more
stop
money,
making
more
money.
problems, though.
You can't stop making money, dude, because like it doesn't even become about the money at a certain point. I mean, I'm not there yet, but like it becomes like it's more the money is a product of the goals. Like Elon Musk. That guy doesn't got too much money. He just keeps doing more shit with his money.
I guess that's true. And that's how I think about it too. I don't think about like the money. I just think about it would be great to achieve X. To build something that has this amount of value or does this type of thing, and then the money comes with that.
I mean, you just gotta, dude. I can't believe you said that. I'm just over here hurt because I'm thinking to myself,
you're gonna get chewed out.
I say that because I'm not chasing the money. I think is what I'm ultimately realizing. It's not like would I like $1 billion? Sure, I'd like $1 billion, but like that's not why I'm here.
It's like that's true. That's true. You're not here for the money per se, but you got to think of like what can that money get you? You know, and it's like it just not get you as in a material way, but just the way you look at things changes. Imagine if you sell your company for like you're making $400 million a year, right? And you compare that to making like $40,000. That's 10,000x more. 10,000x more from your average, especially in like Polk County, right? 40 to 50K is like your average salary. Imagine if you're one of these dudes making $400 million a year on either a tech company, health company, real estate. Those are like the three biggest industries, right? Tech, health, and real estate to really hit it big in money. Think about that. You're making $400 million a year versus 40K, dude. Little things like it's $10,000 becomes $1.
Right.
Something that costs 10 grand is now the equivalent of $1 to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so a $235,000 Lambo would be the equivalent of a $23 item to you. That's how you would look at it. If you made $400 million a year, right? And the guy next to you made $40K a year, he's looking at $235K Lambo and like, shit, that's a lot of money. You're saying, well, that's $23.50 in equality in like in equal perspective terms, right?
It's like 2 Chipotle bowls with guacamole.
Is that how much Chipotle is now?
Yeah, around that for 2.
$50 million home now means it's only $5K.
Crazy. I like thinking about stuff like that way. Mm-hmm. The scalability of wealth.
They look at money differently, man. Like LeBron now, he's going to look at things differently now. Things don't cost the same for them as they do for us. And it's the same thing when you're a millionaire versus somebody who's just working 40, 50K a year. The differential isn't as big. I don't know. I just thought that was wild. I heard that. I read that. And I wanted to say it because it was like a $235K Lambo is the same as $23.50. A $50 million home is equivalent to spending $5,000 when you make that much money, dude. So when you say there's a goal, I'm like, that's my goal. Like I got to get to that point.
I like it.
Love it. Hopefully John doesn't get too hardly chewed out here when we go off air for saying that's too much money, but Can't
I
make
think
it.
I explained my
No, yeah.
perspective correctly.
You did. You did.
I'm Josh.
You're on
You're
reprieve.
Josh.
I'm cool with it. I'm not taking it personal.
I'm Josh, and I like to get my jollies in.
All right, guys.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Lock and load, baby. Lock and load. Papa P out.